Ireland did not choose between gods. It learned how to listen to all of them. When Christianity arrived on this island of stone and mist, it did not come to an empty land. The hills already remembered names. The rivers already carried stories. The fires already spoke. And instead of silence, the new faith found a conversation already in progress. Long before crosses were raised, the Irish world was alive with presence. Not distant deities locked away in unreachable heavens, but spirits woven into soil, wind, water, and flame. Sacredness was not somewhere else. It was not postponed for the afterlife. It was here, underfoot, breathing. The land itself was a text, and everyone knew how to read it. Chapter 1. The Pagan Foundation. Memory without ink. The Druids did not write scripture, not because they lacked intelligence, but because they understood something deeper than permanence on paper. They did not trap wisdom in symbols. They memorized the land itself. Hills became libraries. Rivers became timelines. Forests became living archives where meaning breathed and shifted with the wind. Knowledge was not stored, it was embodied. What they knew lived in rhythm, not ink. In cadence, in breath, in the steady pulse of spoken words carried through night fires and dawn mist. Truth was sung into the air, recited into memory, remembered through repetition until it rooted itself in the bones. Wisdom passed from voice to voice, from elder to initiate, from generation to generation, never frozen, never fixed, never reduced to a single interpretation. Because what is written can be owned, but what is remembered must be lived. They read time in the turning of seasons, the slow green rise of spring, the full breath of summer, the quiet decay of autumn, the sacred stillness of winter. They read truth in trees and how roots grip the dark earth while branches reach the sky. They read meaning in repetition, in tides that return, in moons that wax and wane, in rituals repeated not out of habit, but reverence. To the Druids, life did not move forward in a straight, conquering line. It did not race toward progress or cling to permanence. Life moved in circles, endings folded back into beginnings. Birth returned as death. Death returned as meaning. Nothing truly ended. It only changed form. From body to soil, from breath to wind, from story to silence, and from silence back into story again. To live, then, was not to rule over the world, not to dominate it, not to stand apart and observe from a distance. To live was to participate, to belong to the rhythm, to accept one's place within the great turning, to walk humbly inside a world that was alive, watching and remembering. Chapter 2. The Arrival of Christianity, a slow tide, not a fire. Then Christianity came, not as a thunderclap that split the sky, not as a blade of certainty raised above the past, not as an invasion that demanded instant surrender. It arrived like a slow tide, quiet, persistent, patient enough to listen before it spoke. It did not rush the shore, it learned the shape of it. It waited, advancing gently, retreating when it had to, returning again and again until its presence felt familiar rather than foreign. And something rare happened on this island, something history does not often allow. Instead of burning the old world down, Ireland folded the new faith into it. Not in weakness, but in wisdom. There was no mass erasure of memory, no sweeping command to abandon the ancestors, no violent demand to forget who they had been in order to become something else. The sacred places were not emptied of meaning, they were renamed. The rhythms were not silenced, they were reinterpreted. What had once been spoken to the land was now spoken to heaven. But the cadence remained. The new story was told using an old language. A language shaped by seasons, by cycles, by symbols already understood. Saints stepped into the roles once held by spirits. Holy wells replaced sacred springs without draining their power. Crosses were carved where stones had already been standing for centuries, not to erase the past, but to rest upon it. Christianity in Ireland did not arrive to conquer memory. It arrived to converse with it, to borrow its metaphors, to wear its accent. And because of that, the old world did not vanish. It survived, quietly breathing beneath the surface, woven into prayers, festivals, and stories, waiting to be remembered by those who know how to listen. Chapter 3. The Cross and the Circle. Symbols that agreed to share space. The cross did not replace the circle, it was placed inside it. This is not a small detail, it is a confession carved in stone. Look closely at the Celtic cross. Really look. Before theology, before doctrine, before creed, there is geometry. And the ring that holds the cross is older than Christ, older than the church. It is the sun, burning without beginning or end. It is the wheel of time, turning through seasons, ages, and lives. It is the eternal return. The promise that nothing sacred is ever lost, only transformed. Christianity did not destroy this symbol. It baptized it. The old sign was not shattered. It was submerged, lifted, and returned with new breath. The circle remained what it had always been: infinity, continuity, the living cosmos. But now it held the cross, the mark of suffering made meaningful, the axis where heaven and earth meet. Here, the infinite met the incarnate. The endless cycle embraced a single human life. Time itself bowed around a moment. The old cosmos did not resist this meeting, it welcomed it. Stone did not crack under contradiction, it held both truths at once. This is what Ireland understood instinctively. That meaning does not need to be reduced to survive. That symbols do not have to fight for dominance. That the sacred grows deeper when it learns to share space. So meaning was expanded, not erased, not diluted, not flattened into simplicity. The cross gained a horizon, the circle gained a center. And in that agreement between forms, a new spiritual language was born. One that could hold memory and revelation without forcing either to disappear. Chapter 4. Saints wearing old names. Saints replaced gods. At least that is how history often phrases it, but the truth is quieter, subtler, and far more revealing. The saints behaved suspiciously like the old ones. They walked the same landscapes. They guarded the same thresholds. They answered the same human needs that had always been carried to the divine. What changed was not the longing, only the vocabulary used to name it. Saint Bridget is the clearest example. Before she was canonized, she was already known, already loved, already invoked. She carried the fire of the goddess Bridget before her, not as theft, but as inheritance. She remained protector of hearth and home, watching over the fragile center of daily life where warmth, food, and family meet. She remained a healer of bodies and souls called upon in sickness, in childbirth, in moments when survival itself felt uncertain. She remained guardian of poetry, fertility, and renewal, of words that heal, of fields that return green after winter, of lives that begin again after loss. The name remained, and with it, recognition. The essence endured. The rhythm of devotion did not break. People did not have to relearn how to pray, only how to phrase it. Only the language shifted. This was not deception. It was continuity. It was a people refusing to sever themselves from their spiritual ancestry, refusing to declare their past evil in order to justify their present, refusing the violence of forgetting. Instead, Ireland chose translation over destruction, transformation over rupture, a faith that could move forward without demanding amnesia as the price of belonging. And because of that choice, the old gods did not vanish. They slept beneath new names. Their power still felt in wells, fires, verses, and blessings, waiting patiently for those who understand that survival is sometimes achieved not by resistance, but by becoming fluent in change. Chapter 5. Sacred water never forgets. Wells once dedicated to pagan spirits did not dry up when Christianity arrived. They were not sealed. They were not declared empty. They were renamed. The water remained where it had always been, rising from the dark earth, cool, clear, and patient. And patience in Ireland has always been a form of power. Springs that once carried the presence of old spirits became holy wells of saints. But the rituals did not vanish with the old names. They endured almost unchanged. People still circled them, walking sunwise, step after deliberate step as generations before them had done. They still whispered prayers, not shouted, not proclaimed, but breathed softly into the air as if the water itself were listening. They still believed water could heal, that it could carry sickness away, that it could cleanse more than skin. That memory, once dissolved into water, could move through the body and leave something lighter behind. And the church allowed it, not out of ignorance, but out of understanding. Because to forbid it would have meant severing memory itself. It would have meant declaring the land mute, the people misguided, and centuries of reverence mistaken. Irish Christianity did not rise above the land, aloof and untouchable. It did not hover in abstraction. It rooted downward into the soil, into stone and spring and pathway. It accepted that faith here had always flowed upward from the ground, not downward from authority. That belief was not learned only in churches, but in footsteps worn into grass, in hands dipped into cold water, in rituals repeated until they became instinct. Sacred water never forgets. It remembers every name it has been given, every prayer spoken over it, every body healed or comforted at its edge. And in Ireland, Christianity survived because it learned to remember with the water, rather than trying to command it to forget. Chapter 6. A wild Christianity at the edge of the world. Monks built monasteries in wild places, and they did so deliberately. Not on roads of power, not beside thrones or markets, but at the very edges of the known world, where land thinned into sky and certainty dissolved into wind. They chose cliffs where the sea never rests, where waves strike stone with relentless patience, each impact a reminder that endurance is louder than force. They chose islands carved by wind, where isolation stripped life down to essentials: breath, prayer, work, and silence. They chose bogs that swallowed certainty, places where solid ground could not be trusted, where every step required humility and attention. Not to escape nature, but to live inside it. These monks did not seek separation from the world. They sought immersion. They believed that creation was not a distraction from God, but a language through which God still spoke. This was not the Christianity of marble halls and imperial confidence. Not a faith clothed in gold and echoing chambers. Not a religion secured by armies, architecture, or decree. This was a barefoot faith. A faith that felt cold stone under the knees, salt on the skin, wind cutting through wool and certainty alike. It was a listening faith, one that did not assume God's voice would arrive through proclamation alone, one that waited, that watched, that learned how to hear meaning in repetition. Here, Christianity believed God could be heard in waves striking rock, in seabirds crying over empty water, in the slow labor of copying text by hands numbed from cold and prayer. This wild Christianity did not tame the land. It allowed the land to tame the believer. And in doing so, it preserved a spiritual temperament that never fully forgot its pagan roots. A faith still alert to mystery, still comfortable with silence, still willing to meet God not at the center of empire, but at the edge of the world. Chapter 7. Time was never conquered. Time itself was never taken. It was shared, not seized, not restructured to fit a single authority. Pagan festivals were not destroyed. They were honored, not as relics of error, but as living markers of the seasons, of life's rhythms, of humanity's enduring connection to the turning world. They were transformed. Samhain, the festival of shadows and the thinning veil, became All Souls' Day, a moment for remembering the dead, for honoring those who had walked before, for acknowledging that life and death are not enemies but companions in the same circle. Imbolc, the stirrings of new life in winter's heart, was aligned with St. Brigid's feast. The lambing fields and the first green shoots found a sacred name, but the energy, the hope, the quiet miracle of beginnings remained unchanged. Beltane, the fire of spring and the leap of summer, echoed through the rites of May, where communities gathered to celebrate growth, fertility, and the vitality of the land. Flames still leapt, song still rose, and the wheel of the year continued to turn. The old calendar kept breathing beneath new names. It did not vanish in the shadows of the church. It persisted like a river beneath ice, sometimes hidden, sometimes flowing openly, but always present. Nothing was fully erased. Nothing was fully untouched. The past was neither obliterated nor preserved in stasis. It was woven into the present, layered like moss over stone, alive in memory, story, ritual, and rhythm. In Ireland, time was never conquered. It was conversed with, respected, shared. And because of that, the people never truly left their ancestors behind. Their festivals, their stories, their sacred marks on the land all continued. Quietly, patiently, faithfully, speaking across centuries to anyone willing to listen. Chapter 8. Modern Ireland, living with both worlds. Ireland became a place where contradiction could coexist, where two worlds, the old and the new, did not fight for dominance but learned to inhabit the same space, like rivers converging without losing their currents. Here, a cross can stand on a fairy hill, its stone arms reaching skyward, while the whispers of the seed hay curl around the roots and rocks below. Monks once prayed with fear and reverence for spirits unseen, and the echoes of that caution remain. Prayers are still spoken with one eye on the unseen world, a gentle acknowledgement that the land remembers what the mind cannot name. Even today, the Irish will tell you they are Catholic, faithful to the church, devout in Mass, in rosaries, and hymns. And yet, they will still warn you not to disturb a fairy tree, not to disrespect an old well, not to ignore the presence of a place older than any building or book. They may smile, they may laugh it off when outsiders question it, but they do not test it. Because some truths are older than explanation. They will attend Mass and still leave offerings at ancient sites, pouring milk, placing stones, saying silent thanks to powers they do not need to define. It is not contradiction, it is coexistence. It is the ability to live fully in both worlds at once. Modern Ireland is not a place where one faith conquered another. It is a place where history, memory, and belief interlace, where every hill, well, and stone carries a layered story, and where the living walk carefully, mindful that some truths are older than human logic, older than scripture, older even than the words we speak aloud. In Ireland, memory and faith do not erase each other. They converse, they coexist, and they endure. Ireland understands something modern minds often forget. Belief is not replaced. It is layered. When a culture erases its spiritual past, it loses depth. But when it integrates it, it gains endurance. Ireland did not survive by choosing sides. It survived by remembering, by allowing Christianity to wear the cloak of the old world, and allowing paganism to whisper beneath the prayers. That is why Ireland feels ancient in a way books cannot explain, why its silence feels occupied, why its land feels aware. Because here faith did not conquer myth, and myth did not reject faith. They learned how to walk together, under moonlight, through mist, without demanding the other disappear. If this story stirred something ancient in you, if you felt the land breathing beneath these words, then walk with me further. Like this video so it can find others who listen in the dark. Subscribe to Moonlight Whisper for stories where history, myth, and memory still speak. And tell me in the comments, do you believe faith should replace what came before? Or remember it? Until next time, stay curious, stay listening, and meet me again under the moonlight.